Hello again, today's topic is villains. No superhero movie would be complete without a cool and interesting villain. So let's start off with the Green Goblin. I love this villain. And a big part of that is Willem Dafoe. They could not have cast a better person to play Green Goblin. One of the challenges of playing Green Goblin is that you have to play two different roles, Norman Osborn the business tycoon and Norman Osborn the supervillain. And Dafoe does both very, very well. As Norman, he exudes this very sneaky and conniving vibe, and as Goblin, he is completely psychotic, but in a way that's still intimidating. There is only one problem with him in the movies, and it's that goddamn costume. The Green Goblin is not supposed to dress like that. He's supposed to be dressed in cloth and a latex mask. And if there was ever an actor capable of creating a proper Green Goblin evil smile, it was Willem Dafoe. And they just squandered that by hiding him under that big, ugly hunk of plastic. But to Dafoe's credit, he was still able to act past that awful Power Rangers outfit and still give a terrific performance. As for Dr. Octopus, this is another really good performance. Alfred Molina has both the look and the acting skill for this role. The scenes where he talks to the tentacles could easily be really cheesy, but he manages to pull them off well. He's really believable as a character and also fairly complex. Another thing the movie can be credited with is actually managing to pull off a mad scientist. Mad scientists are often cheesy and kind of boring to watch, but Doc Ock doesn't have that problem. There's real reasons for his obsession with completing his experiment, and that is a great strength of the character. But the problem with the character is that it's kind of a big step away from what it was in the comics. Not visually, they got that absolutely right. I mean, in terms of who he was. Doc Ock was never a mentor to Peter Parker. In fact, he wasn't ever even really a nice guy to begin with. He was just an arrogant scientist who pushed himself over the edge when he went too far. And the only reason he hated Spider-Man was because he kept getting in the way of his success. Now I understand that it's hard to weave a character like that into the movies, but I mean, they did it fairly well in the comics. Ultimately, it's sort of a minor complaint because the character is still really entertaining and fun to watch, but it's something to think about nonetheless. As for Sandman, I will say that they got the visuals just right. The sand effects are great and Thomas Hayden Church looks exactly like Sandman, but everything else was just ruined. The character was a huge step away from his traditional role, even more so than what they did to Doc Ock. The thing about Sandman in the comics is that he sort of sees big crime as a way to validate himself and feel like he's accomplishing things. That's his only motivation. In the movie, they threw in this totally unnecessary plotline about his daughter, and even went so far as to make him Uncle Ben's killer. Now, I'm willing to let creative liberties be taken with characters from comic books, but with Sandman, they just went way too far. And speaking of going way too far, let's talk about Venom. First of all, he looked totally wrong. He completely lacked the intimidating, nightmarish presence that Venom is supposed to have. Instead, he just looks kind of silly. Not to mention that Topher Grace is totally the wrong person for this role. In the comic books, Eddie Brock has very deep and complex reasons for hating Peter Parker. And in the movie, his reasons for hating Peter just stem from his inability to accept the fact that he's a total douchebag. The problem is that Topher Grace is not playing Eddie Brock. He's playing Eric Foreman. And I think it's time that we accept the fact that that's the only role he's ever going to play. But the biggest problem I have with this performance is that Venom refers to himself as an I. Venom is not an I. Venom is a we. The most important thing about Venom is that the symbiote suit has a mind and emotions of its own. It's not just Eddie Brock in a black suit, it's a partnership between two organisms made to achieve the goal of killing Spider-Man. The symbiote suit is not a tool, it's a partner. And they totally drop that aspect of the character, which just isn't okay. So I'm gonna have to give the point to Spider-Man 1. Congratulations, Gabby. Remember to watch tomorrow when I'll be comparing the movie's action scenes.